Hello and welcome back to the CounterCast. How are all you vital idols doing? We've got one hell of a show prep for you. We've been talking about it for a couple of weeks now. The man, the myth, the legend, Mike Pollock is here. But before we introduce him, let's go ahead and introduce the rest of the crew first. We got to say hey to everybody. Say the best for last. Cinevere, tell the people who you are and what you do.
Hi, my name is Cinevere. You guys can find me on all platforms as Cinevere. And I do anime, video games, and the occasional ARG if I can find one I think is worthy for y'all. So make
Bingo.
sure you guys check it out, okay?
You love to see it. Speaking of checking things out, look at that lovely hair coif. I love it every time I see it. And Andrew, tell the people who you are and what you do.
Oh, you're referring to my hair. Oh, fantastic.
Yes,
Outstanding. What's going on, everybody? It is fantastic to be back here on CounterCast. It's a great show, and I'm happy to be here with a voice acting legend, Mike Pollock. What the hell? As a massive Sonic the Hedgehog fan and fan of other things he's done, I am stoked. I would say that this stream is set up to be way past cool.
He did the thing, guys.
I did the thing. Yes. He did the thing.
I wanted to get all my favorite, friends and Sonic fans on the show, including Mugen Lord. Mugen Lord, tell the people who you are and what you do.
Thanks, Leon. I appreciate it for you having me on here. You know I'm a Sonic fan. I know you're a Sonic fan, and so this is a big deal to me. But yes, man, my name is Mugen Lord. I cover a lot of gaming topics on my YouTube channel, and I'm also a comic book writer, author. I own a comic book company called Venus Orion Comics. Released my first comic book series. The campaign went really, really well. Thanks to all of you guys for showing some support. So, yeah, man. So come check out my channel when you have a chance. Thanks.
Perfect. Definitely do so. We released a great video today. And then LG, my man, also a Sonic fan. Tell the people how you feel and who you are, what you do.
Hey world, what's good? It's your boy LG. I'm back with another video. Thank you, Leon, for having me on the Hey panel. What's going on, y'all? How y'all doing? How y'all living? How you feeling? How you mom and them? I'm just here. I do music. I do gaming. I do a whole lot of shit. I just woke up like 20 minutes ago. Got me something to eat, and I was like, yeah, let me go ahead. It's perfect timing. You know what I'm saying? I had to go look for the Sonic shirt. You feel me? I found it. You know what I'm saying? I got the Mean Bean machine in the background.
You love to see it, bro. Yeah. I knew we had to get you on this as well. I was like, oh, LG, gotta love mine.
Do you have a sealed copy of Archie Comics Sonic the Hedgehog 0?
I don't, but I that would be dope though.
Fake fan.
You know what? You blessed it. Okay. All right. I'm about to go break the NDA. Hold on. I'm about to go talk to Sasuke right now. Hold on. We about to
You try that.
It is time to introduce the man of the hour, everybody. Mr. Mike Pollock, the man who has been voicing Dr. Robotnik for what, 22 years now?
Just about. That would be in August, but as of now, 21 and counting. But who's counting?
21 and counting. Well,
like 2005, right?
2003 for Sonic X. 2005 for the first.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right. That's incredible.
I got to count from the start.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, no. That's, thank you so much for doing this. We're going to have a great show. But for those of you that might not know, for those of you that might not in the crowd know, tell the people who you are and what you do.
Sure, I'm Mike Pollock. I'm a voiceover actor. Most people seem to know me for that guy. It's Dr. Eggman. Good, this cough suppressant is working. But I run the gamut from all sorts of anime stuff. Dawn in Berserk, from 4Kids TV, The Mayor and Kirby Right Back at You, Sambo the Bartender, Meat and Ultimate Muscle. A whole bunch of anime stuff, dubs of things, and possibly everyone's second favorite, Greg from Ratatouille. Precisely. Thank you very much.
You had just a fantastic long running career, and if I could, and you can correct me wrong, but you also have done live action work, correct?
Yeah, I've done. Most recently, I was on stage in an off Broadway show this summer of 2023. I've done some cable commercials that nobody would ever remember, but the stage thing was the most recent. I have a long stage history going back through college years and beyond.
Excellent. Well, I guess that leads into the first question. Did you always want to just do? I'm sure some of these questions you're going to get a lot. I want to get the easy stuff out of the way first before we get into the good juicy stuff. But did you always want to do voice acting, or was just acting in general? What was the calling?
It was a combination of stuff. I've always wanted to be an actor. I've loved acting as a kid. I also loved radio as a kid. When it came time to pick a career, after doing all sorts of school and community theater, Radio seemed a little bit more stable because you can stay in a job with any luck longer than a show that could run a couple of weeks and get canceled. So radio was there for a while until radio decided it had enough of me. And by the time that happened, I had enough of a backlog of character material to build a demo reel, shop it around. Some cartoons liked it, some anime dubs liked it. Then I got some real life professional voiceover coaching and was able to expand to commercials and narration and all sorts of just voiceover stuff. And it provides the essence of acting that I love without the trappings of line memorization, choreography, blocking, wardrobe, makeup. You just go and you act, you go home.
Awesome.
Or these days when I record from home, I am home.
And that's someone else who gets this the luxury to work from home. It's very beautiful. You don't want to take it for granted. All right, anybody have anything that you guys want to ask the man in charge right now?
Yes. I want to know, like, how did you stumble upon the opportunity to voice in Sonic X on For Kids?
Right place at the right time. As I said, I sent those demos out. One of the demos when I was first starting to go full on freelance ended up at For Kids via Pokemon. They were dubbing Pokemon. I got a walk-on role as a grandfather who trained Pidgeys for a messenger service. And when 4Kids TV was in the works, Eric Stewart, director of that Pokemon episode, remembered me, recommended me to 4Kids for other stuff. I became the promo guy for a while. He was directing Yu-Gi-Oh! I auditioned for a thing in that, didn't book it, but booked something else later. He was also working on Kirby and stuff, so they passed my name around. And eventually the folks that were producing Sonic X, same people that produced Kirby Right Back At You. And so they knew my work from Kirby, and they said, we're really interested in having you read for Dr. Eggman. Here, match these clips of Dean Bristow. So I didn't know who Dean Bristow was. I didn't know it was Dean Bristow. But I took the clips home, listened to it, and then worked on my Dean Bristow voice. I'm Dean Bristow. Went in for an audition. They weren't convinced. Went in for a callback. Went in for a second callback. All the time doing that same Dean Bristow thing. Finally, they decided, yeah, you'll do. And I did.
Oh, awesome. So because
my bad.
One more.
No, go for it.
So after you did, I guess you say Sonic X, did Sega happen to see your work from Sonic X and decide to say, hey, you voice the games as well? Did it work out that way, or was it like a package deal? You do the cartoon and you do the game?
Somewhere Sega had approval on all this stuff because they licensed out the show, and so they got approval of casting. And once we'd been doing Sonic X, the next thing you know, they called us in for a weekend of recording the game. Shadow the Hedgehog, it was our first game, and that was just another gig, cool. And then they called us in again and again, and apparently sometime they made that full-on choice to keep us on for the games.
Oh, awesome! Because normally they keep the voices from the cartoon separate from the game. So when I bought Sonic the Shadow the Hedgehog, to hear you guys' voices on there, it just blew my mind. I said, I've never seen this before. Normally the cartoon is separate from the game, so I think that's pretty cool.
Somebody wanted consistency, and I'm glad they did.
Sonic is actually a franchise where it's kind of the outlier rather than the rule when it comes to that, because there are a few voices that were, cross media when it comes to the Sonic franchise. So Jason Griffith, he did, he was in Sonic X, and he did games for years as well. So it's really interesting to see that, because I can't really think of another example, with the exception of like a direct anime game, right? Then they just grab the same cast. But when it comes to a lot of other stuff, they don't do that. And it's really interesting, but it's cool, especially when you have a voice that really hits it on the mark, like yours did for Eggman. And you've been the voice of Eggman for the vast majority of my life. And so you just kind of are Eggman. That's just definitively.
Thank you.
And that actually builds off of I'm sorry. It was something I wanted to ask in terms of be the voice of Eggman. Because much like everybody else here, I've been playing Sonic for a long time, back to the Genesis days, and of course you took over, like you said, in 2003 with Sonic X. But your voice as Eggman is remarkably similar to what was being done in like the adventure games prior. Was that a conscious choice, or was that asked of you, or do you just happen to sound that much naturally the same?
When they were casting us, as far as I know, I was the only one involved in my audition process, but from what I've heard from my colleagues at the time at conventions and stuff, we were all doing sound-alikes. So they said, these are the voices we'd like you to match. Voice matching is a thing. So I took home the clips of Dean, and I got Dean Bristow. And the Dean Bristow sound stayed for the first few episodes of Sonic X until the director and producer came to me, said, "We love what you're doing, but we love to throw in some peaks and valleys in the voice to allow for comedy." And they gave me a template of Martin Short's Jiminy Glick character, who starts up way up high and then goes way down low. So then from then on till the current day, presumably, it was a lot of peaks and valleys in the voice too. So there's a lot more range, and he can go up here, and go down here.
Awesome.
Just all down here.
Actually, that's actually a really good. I have a question with that. Speaking of like other, because you brought up something, because I was just looking at something. Have you looked at any other like the Robotnik ones from the other Robotnik voices from like the TV show, the older one, specifically the adventure one? One of my favorites from if I'm saying his name right, it's Long John Baldry.
Yeah, just right. Yeah, I've not studied them mostly because I don't want. There's that cough again. I don't want to confuse what I'm doing with what someone else was doing, because if that's not what Sega wants me to do, I'm not doing that. But yeah, I've heard bits of them. They're all very good in their own way, and I love other actors doing what they do. But no, I've seen them in passing. I was at a hotel with a family once, and the Saturday morning show was on in Rio, and said, "Oh, this is what that is," and that's enough. But yeah, it's not. I take my marching orders from Sega. If they want me to sound a certain way, they'll tell me.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
In terms of your comedic, sorry.
I was just gonna say Long John Baldry was one of my favorite ones, because just the way he sounded, it was just hilarious. Like he was more comical, and I think that this is just my theory. I think that's where they got Jim Carrey, the Jim Carrey version of the movies from, because if you look at the older adventure ones, that's where he was like kind of mean, but he was like funny. You know, he was always insulting his minions, you know, with the, you know, you bumbling bucket of bolts, that, you know, type Russian thing. And I think that's where it carried over with John Kerry. So I just wondered if you looked at the same thing. So that's good. I like that.
Well, actually, but that leads into the comedic timing. So Sonic Boom was obviously far more like oriented towards children, but it was a far more comedic show. And the standout is your performance. Not just glazing you because you're the guest here. Like, without a doubt, you were the funniest performer in that show. Is that like natural sense of timing something that you've always had? Was that so you had to work? Because it's a very different take on Eggman. But my God, even as a 30-plus-year-old male, I'm ashamed to admit this. I'm laughing at this kid's cartoon. So
I've always had the comedy gene. So it's been, while I love all aspects of acting, comedy, tragedy, drama, everything in between, comedy has always come naturally, much to the annoyance of some people, perhaps. But yeah, comedy is always, I get the sitcom concept. So yeah, I don't know that they wrote it for me specifically, although we recorded in English first and then it got dubbed in other languages.
Really?
But yeah, and that was from 2010 or so. It pretty much became English first and then dubbed elsewhere for all the stuff. But yeah, we had some top-notch sitcom writers. They wrote sitcoms, and I can deliver sitcom comedy. Hi, patting myself in the back.
Want to hit a couple of these supers real quick, and then we'll get to additional questions. But Dash Tech came in with a 10-banger. Thank you so much, Dash. And guys, we're probably not going to be doing clips for the out the gate just because I don't want to use up too much of his time. But thank you so much to Mike. I hate cancel culture. It ruined the Dragon Ball dub for me because of the drama. I think you know what I'm talking about. I really hope Sega has your back, as Sonic is doing really well at the moment. Then he followed up with an additional 5. Also, favorite line from you. You know what they say. The more you want to read this, actually, if that's not too much to ask.
Sure. You know what they say. The more, the merrier.
Perfect. That was beautiful.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
That was wonderful.
Did Rabnad Scoobla, member for 1 month. Are you friends with any of the other Eggman voice actors, namely Jim Cummings? I remember you was the narrator for Pokemon Advance Battle.
Thank you for remembering. But no, our paths have never crossed. But he's at cons, I'm at cons. Someday the twain shall meet. I hope. Fingers crossed.
Ran into him at a bar one time, hanging out with a couple of the surviving members of the Ramones. That was a trip.
Cool. My one of my convention agents handles Marky Ramone, so I've met Marky Ramone.
Oh, awesome!
So there's that twice.
That's awesome. Yeah, it was Marky too. So yeah, I might have it was probably the same. Yeah,
I'm gonna guess. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Marky makes around.
Since Dash brought up, we'll go ahead and get into it. This is what kind of crossed our paths into the conversation was social media. First of all, before we get into what actually happened, what are your thoughts on social media and how it is allowed, for better or worse, connection to fans and how you use it? What's that journey been like for you since the inception of it?
I'm going to quote the legendary British talk show host Graham Norton, who said, and I'm paraphrasing because it's not in front of me, but Twitter is funny because it's like yelling at the TV, but now the TV can hear you. That could be a great thing, but what things people yell, not great. So it's a blessing and a curse. I would love people to laugh at my jokes, but then people want to see and hear what they see and hear, and then they twist things apart and say, "That's you said something that you didn't say." All righty. So it could be a great thing, but it's fostered hatred more than anything else. And I think we've got more than enough hatred in life. We should have a little more love and peace. Peace and love, baby.
No, I could, especially because for those of you that we'll get into the actual joke itself, which by the way was very obviously a joke. I don't know how people can't tell this, but I'll pull it up on screen so there's
It's not that they can't
context
tell;
here.
it's deliberate intellectual dishonesty, is what it is.
You're probably more correct. Yeah. So this individual,
that's implying that they have an intellect to begin with. NDA, Andrew.
My bad.
This individual says the official voice actor for Dr. Eggman, Mike Pollock, has encouraged his fan base to publicly call me slurs. It's a now deleted tweet. Please spread this tweet around. And of course, we have this here where you say, "Hey, weirdo fan base." By the way, the joke should have been right there.
Go to the first one because it's based on context.
Oh, right. So initially they state,
up,
I'm
up,
higher.
Higher.
They did this one first. They wanted to get you fired. So this one actually came first, and they said this one. So
no, they're right. Yeah, but what I responded to was the one above the two. There.
Right. Well, I just wanted to call the context
Yeah.
people. They were actually asking for you to be fired. So I'm low key excited for when this new Eggman is recast. The current voice actor is such a Zionist asshole. It sucks so much. What do you guys think? And then they come at you saying, tagging you, "Hey, it's Mike. Can you tell your weirdo fan base not to call me slurs in the DMs?" Now, from here, weirdo fan base should have, in my opinion, been the first key that this was a joke, because why would you call your own fans weird? Am I wrong?
I would not call my weirdo fan base because they're not a fan base of weirdos, but their choice of words, and I made sure to echo that.
And then you can don't call Juno slurs in the DMs. Do it publicly, I guess.
Now,
I'm here for it.
The thought process there's a concept in law and also in language. The expression of one is the exclusion of another. So if somebody says, "Don't hit me in the face." Oh, okay, so I can hit you in the arm. You said one, you didn't say the other. So don't do it in private. Oh, so we can do it publicly because you said don't do it privately.
Yeah.
This is my sarcastic comedy. Now, being called the Zionist asshole, I'm a Jew. For my entire life, I've been a Jew. Jews tend to be sarcastic. We deal in comedy, especially to deal with pain and suffering. So sarcasm comes naturally. It's a valued trait amongst our culture. So for me, sarcasm is love. Geezer alert, Don Rickles. Anyone?
Actually,
Jewish guy. His comedy based on insults, but good-natured, loving, not mean-spirited, not like the personal attacks I've seen directed towards me. So in this case, I took the words that I was given and the logic implied in the syntax of the sentence, linguistics minor, I took something out of college, and I said, there's some comedy and comedic points to be made. I'm going to do that. And I did. And then when the world
fantastically.
Thank you very much.
It was pretty. I mean, honestly, it was pretty easy if you really think about it. Like, it's one of those things. Because I get the sarcasm too. Because I was like, I've dealt with some of this stuff, and it's like, oh well, you shouldn't do that in DMs. Okay, well, we'll do it publicly. Then what else the fuck you want? Like, these are the type of people like that. Honestly, they don't. You could tell they're like no fun allowed type people.
Funless wonders.
And I'm like, bro, are you just like go somewhere? Because if they had their way, they'll be miserable, because everything's a problem, everything's an issue, everything is a race problem. And I can't tell you, as somebody that, obviously I'm a black guy, shocker, I know, but people will sit up here and say Black Lives Matter, and then until I say something that they don't necessarily agree with it, then it's, oh well, whatever, then I'll say the same thing. Okay, I thought Black Lives Matter, you got it in your bio, so why are you arguing by your logic with a black man? Well, you're not black enough. And then we go down the whole rabbit hole of nonsensical nonsense.
Well, without going down the political rabbit hole too much, it's so ironic and mind-blowing that the same type of people who will like say to someone who is Jewish, you're a Zionist asshole, right? Or they'll utilize Zionist as a pejorative, right? Those exact same people will, on the other side of their mouth, they will use the word for a very specific group of people in history as an insult to anybody whom they dislike, right? That would be in direct contention with the Zionism part, right? And so, like, can y'all make up your minds and maybe not be jerks? I don't know.
Can you not see what you're doing here? Is what you're trying to say? Like, can you see? There you go. There's another verbal joke. But no. So in response to this, like, first of all, how is being a Zionist? I get people use as a pejorative, but how is that actually a negative? Like, I don't get why that's used as a negative. And maybe I just haven't talked to enough Jews, so you can maybe explain it to me.
The definition, and I'm going from now, people hate Jewish sources, I've noticed, possibly because of a problem with Jews. The Anti-Defamation League, whose job ostensibly is to defend Jews against defamation, they point out Zionism is the movement for the self-determination and statehood for the Jewish people in their ancestral homeland, the land of Israel. That's its basic definition. Now, if you hate the idea of Israel because of actions that Israel has done, you'll say, well, it's settlers, it's an occupation. Okay. First of all, if you go back in history, it wasn't colonialism, and occupation is essentially to keep Israel safe from its neighbors who want to destroy it. Israel as a state has the right to exist and defend itself. And whether you agree or disagree with the government, the U.S. has an army to defend itself. We are a nation, and if we get attacked, we're going to fight back. I've been attacked. I'm fighting back. It's what I do. And the whole settler thing, if it's up to me, if it's disputed land, just stay out of it until that's all settled too. So settling in one way is good. Settling to encroach on others' lands in a disputed manner, don't do that. So for me, I'm not for the settling. Stay where you are. We got some negotiations to do. But Zionism just means I want Israel to exist. I have cousins that live there. I would like them to live there where they live and be safe. And originally, when Israel was proposed and became a state in 1948, there was a partition plan. There was half for Israel. There was half for the Arab nations. The Jews took Israel. The Arabs decided, no, we'd rather fight and destroy Israel instead. And here we are.
I mean, war's been going over there for 3,000 years, and it's odd that people care so much about it now. It feels like it's just because it fits a certain level of people's, political identity that they need to exist on the internet. I'll be real. Personally speaking, I'm more of a let's just not send money to either kind of people and let them figure it out because we got some shit to work on in America. That's me, and I don't think that's a rough opinion to take. But people have attacked me for siding with Israel just because of it's. I don't know. The amount of brain dead politics you're going to get on Twitter/X it's entertaining until it's not. But I don't know about you. I feed it. You seem like you probably do too in times for comedic purposes.
Yeah. As Tom Lehrer, musical satirist, if you don't know him, you should. In his lovely song, National.
The song about the Operation Paperclip guy. Why am I blanking on his name?
I'm waiting in a hint, and I'll guess it. Go ahead.
The bombs expert who effectively helped us get to the moon.
Werner von Braun.
Yes, Werner von Braun. Didn't Tom do the Werner von Braun song?
Absolutely, he did. And the song that I'm referring to is National Brotherhood Week, where he sings about the Protestants hate the Catholics, and the Catholics hate the Protestants, and the Hindus hate the Muslims, and everybody hates the Jews. But during National Brotherhood Week, thank you, I'm here all week. So Jews have been hated for years. My Judaism, I didn't make a big deal out of it until this war broke out, and a bunch of personal experiences like the death of my cousin, who is an internationally renowned Middle East expert who died at the worst possible time, just when the war was a few months old. But I went to his funeral at a synagogue surrounded by family and fellow Jews and said, oh yeah, this is what Judaism is. And my son was at college with the protests happening. He's like, oh yeah, the protests, the Jews are uncomfortable. And oh yeah. And then a musical song parody it's parody is the wrong word. It was a lyrical adaptation. Empty Chairs and Empty Tables from Les Mis. Beautiful song. Friend of mine who writes parodies with his collaborator rewrote it for the hostages and did a touching video. And it was in May of last year. And I thought, this war has been raging. I've wanted to say something. I've had nothing to say. This dropped into my lap. I'm going to share this. That did not go well. Free Palestine, free Palestine. So me, snarky Jewish asshole, smartass says, Jews love free. Waka waka.
Right.
That,
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Thank you very much. That didn't go over as well with some people as I'd hoped. And then, drawing on what I hoped was common knowledge of Jews, people always said, bro, are you hacked? No, I'm just Jewish. But I was circumcised to be a Jew, so they just hacked off the tip. Waka waka! Dude, we're talking about circumcision of minors. Okay, stop. Jewish males are ritually circumcised. It's a part of a thing we do. It's a catered affair. It's called a bris. Look it up. I had one. All the Jewish males tend to have one. It used to be common knowledge, but now it's just offensive and I can't discuss it. But I did. Jewish smartass. Thank you very much.
Your comedic timing is on point, even through text, through time. Because chat's laughing their ass off of this. Again, these are funny. These are jokes that would have had been no problem in 2005. Absolutely no problem whatsoever. So, I mean, in your estimation, what's changed? That's a big question. Sorry.
Everybody gets a trophy. When everyone started getting trophies, no, we cannot have winners or losers. We must all have our trophies. Otherwise, we're offended, I guess. And I'm old. I'm pushing 60. If I live so long, I should live so long. And when I was a kid, we drank from the garden hose. We were tough people. But the world, I guess, parents coddling children, we were good parents, but you give your kids a hard time. Build up a little toughness. Build that comedy gene. So, yes, we coddle the kids when appropriate. Believe me, my children are spoiled. My son's room looks like a toy store. He's in college graduate now, but his room is full of Japanese robots. It might as well be there might as well be price tags. You should come and shop. But even so, we give our kids a hard time in a loving way, just to build up a little feistiness, like I had. But apparently, feistiness is out of fashion. Now we're just offended by being offended.
Yeah, the whole everybody gets a trophy bit, it instills this mentality, and it's a mistaken one, that everyone is just automatically special just by existing. And the thing with comedy is that comedy isn't kind. The idea, this is a paired set of ideas here. If everybody gets a trophy, there's no winners and losers, right? And comedy isn't kind. Somebody is the butt of the joke. So there is a loser. Yeah, somebody is a loser in that moment, in that joke. Now, if they have a sense of humor about them, they can find it funny, right? I think self-deprecating humor is very healthy, at least to a degree. And so people who are incapable of grasping onto those things are the exact type of people that they will either themselves be offended by anything, or they will attempt to feign offense on behalf of somebody else. Like, they're not even involved, right? This isn't even about them. But for whatever reason, they need to take it upon themselves to be offended for somebody else. And it's ridiculous.
Right. And this is crazy, especially from, me and Mugen Lord kind of came from the same community, because I don't know about you, Mugen Lord. Me, I grew up in the era of, we played what we called the dozens, right? Or, you know what I'm saying, where we used to sit up and people would come in there, like a group of friends, of course, would sit there and just poke fun at each other, and in creative ways. Like, if somebody's shoes was looking a little too rough, you can say, hey, you look like you've been kicking rocks with your shoes, man. What are you doing? If somebody's teeth was a little, somebody was sitting there talking mess, and then, oh, I know you not talking. Why your teeth look like they divorced and split? You know what I'm saying? And then, everybody starts running off and laughing. So, and it's become now like some people have tried to do that online, and on top of the participation trophy, they want to. I've seen a lot of people do this. They like to throw rocks and hide hands. So they like to do this thing where I can make fun of you, but the very second you answer back to me, oh, well, I'm just this person. No, I'm as a insert minority thing here. I'm special. I'm this, that, and the third. I'm like, bro, shut up. Shut up. Okay. I don't do that. I don't like doing that because I've dealt with that too much. And I kind of have a slight aversion to that. And I'm like that type of person. Like if I see you doing that, and especially if you're the one to go after me, especially if it's not that type of thing. If we're talking about something serious like politics or something, you know, and I'm giving my personal opinion, and then you start trying to do the ad hominems and all this, and then I clap back at you. You don't get mad because you did this. I, like you said earlier, I have a right to defend myself.
Energy matching
myself,
energy.
I shall. Exactly. Defending myself, I shall.
Before the next question, does anybody have anything they want to follow up on before I ask the next question that's in relation to this?
Let me just add, there's a difference between comedy and mockery and ridicule and cruelty. There are degrees.
Yeah,
if it's just cruelty, that's not comedy. Personal attacks that I've seen. But if my favorite kind of joke, and we discussed self-deprecating, my favorite kind of jokes that I will write are the ones that make you think, and it takes you into what the heck? Oh,
yeah.
But some people don't get it because they don't follow that thought process, and that's frustrating. But normally the stuff, if you read it, it might sound mean until you think about it. It's like, oh wait, there's another layer there. It's up here. Oh, or you feel your hair move as it goes whooshing by.
I'm going to try and get validation from you because I had a joke like that on a different show on Saturday that I think was maybe too highbrow. It fell completely flat. We were making jokes, and somehow World War II came up, and I said I sided with the Japanese.
As it does.
Yeah, right. I said I sided with the Japanese. Everyone freaks out about the rape of Nanking, but they never ask what Nanking was wearing. I thought that was funny.
Edgy.
Nobody laughed, but you know, it is what it is.
I didn't realize my mic was muted again, but no, I actually laughed. So
thank you, Senator. Continue, Mike.
No, I appreciate the thought process that went into that. Edgier than I would have gone, but yeah, okay, I see where that came from.
Well, speaking of things being edgy and whatnot, so there have actually been a few other voice actors that have been, you know, shared your sentiments. They've been in your shoes. I mean, someone in the chat mentioned earlier, Tara Strong. I remember when Tara Strong was attacked for the same thing. I actually covered that on my channel as well. And is this, first of all, is this a common thing that you're seeing in at least the Western voice acting stuff? Is there a lot of Jewish voice actors speaking out? And also, people are calling for recasting of a lot of these voice actors. Is that something we've actually seen? Have there been any companies or studios or voice actors that have had to basically move their career on because of that?
Well, it's a tough question because there aren't a lot of Jewish voice actors. I can think of a couple right offhand, but in most of the shows that I'm in, there are Jews are more of a minority than in the general population. And yeah, as for recasting, again, it comes up the easily offended folks. There are some indie shows that I've been involved with who have had their problems with other drama and harassment and stuff, and those have led to recasting because we don't want any more drama. Okay, let's just make sure that this is not purely anti-Semitic, anti-Zionist based, because if it is, that's a problem. But if it's because drama begets other drama, okay, have your way with it. But I'm not shutting up. I'm still Jewish, still have family in Israel, still have all the Jews in Israel, still going to defend Israel. Now, I will point out that does not mean I dislike Palestinians per se. The problem is terrorists who hate Jews and want to destroy Jews in Israel. That's actually right in Hamas's charter. I'm not making that up. So if you say right in the charter and no more Jews in Israel, that's gonna be a problem. You want to kill me? I'm not gonna be your biggest fan.
Well, and look, I totally, that's kind of the sentiment amongst even the normal Free Palestine folk I've talked with, and to be fair, there aren't very many normal ones, but the normal Free Palestine folk I've talked to, most of them will at least say, I mean, don't get me wrong, we know Hamas are terrorists. I was like, okay, at least we can agree on that, because that's then otherwise you got streamers and internet personalities like Hamas Piker that actually interview these terrorists and tell them that you know, we agree with what you're doing, and it's a really strange dichotomy, because maybe these folks were just too young or weren't born yet during 9/11. I remember 9/11. It's a very visceral memory for me, and I'm like, yeah,
I smelled that.
Shit was not good. What?
That I smelled that. We lived in Upper Manhattan at the time. Really? I smelled 9/11. Yeah. I was out of town at had a lovely vacation home in the mountains, but we came back. That smell hit us even way above way at the northern tip of Manhattan. So
That's
I was
wild.
there for that. That affected my voice work. I had studios that were in lower Manhattan that had to relocate. I had sessions canceled. So yeah, I was not directly affected in the worst way by 9/11, but I was there and it affected
Yeah.
me.
How
Wow.
has
Oh,
your work kind
this is
of
a really
evolved?
common. I'm sorry. Go on, Andrew.
I was just going to ask, how's your work evolved from the years where you would go into a studio, right, and you would
Mhm.
record there, and then what was the point where that really did a hard shift? Was it like during, I guess, COVID, where
Mhm.
all of a sudden now, a lot of voice actors had to sort out, putting together a home studio, sound
Mhm.
treating the room and all of that, getting really nice high quality voice equipment, audio equipment, things like that. What did that transition look like, and how difficult or not difficult was that transition? Because the voice acting industry had operated, at least here in the West, a specific way for so long. All of a sudden, there was this hard shift.
Absolutely pandemic, almost immediate. We bought this house not really planning to. It was just before the VO thing really took off, I guess. Yeah, 2002 or so. So I was just starting it, but I wasn't. When we bought the house, I wasn't thinking of making this a studio, and not realizing that because we live a flight path of an airport, next to a firehouse, next to the hospital, sirens and everything, and medevac helicopters wasn't even a thing. But I had a microphone here in my little studio office for auditions and some low budget clients who couldn't afford to have a studio. So great. So it was here, it was functional. In fact, for a while, I had the Blue Yeti that Leon is using. Not a bad mic for what it does. Um, and then the pandemic
I need to
happened.
upgrade, but you're right. It's not bad for what it is.
For a
Yeah,
hundred
one of
bucks,
the
it's not
things,
bad.
exactly. I've got a couple. I got one here. I got one at the vacation home, and I got one for traveling. But when the pandemic hit, I realized that it couldn't cut it for the demands of what the all fancy new real time high quality audio intercommunication needs were. So, for example, it's a USB thing, but it couldn't handle multiple inputs and outputs that I needed. So I needed to upgrade. Bought an interface. Bought a mic to go with that. Actually got a long-term loan from a client on that, which lasted for about 4 years. And I was coasting on that. Hey, a free mic, no problem. Until suddenly they called a few months ago to say, yeah, we need to give this to a kid who's doing a remote session. Can we have that back? And I said, well, you could, except I'm using it. I own the interface, but it's your mic. So hang on. I have since gotten the lovely used Neumann U87AI. You can kind of see it in that shot
Oh shit.
with the interface, which is, thank you very much, top of the line, and running that with the interface. And even in the room that is not soundproofed, but it's treated, we still have to pause during live sessions for the medevacs and the sirens and the lawn maintenance and everything else in suburban life. But it's become quite functional. I've used it on all the games in recent years. And it's just getting better as the journey continues and I upgrade the equipment. So working from home, great. 13 steps instead of an hour and a half on a bus, couldn't beat it.
I mean, Andrew, I don't know if you saw the private chat, Mike, but Andrew, you ran into that right before the show started. While the intro was going, he shoots a message in the private chat. Goes, the apartment complex's fire sirens started going off. Like, well, I was like, don't worry about it, no worries.
Worst timing in the world. I'm so glad it ended like right before we went live.
Our
Right.
landscapers tend to show up on Thursdays. I've grown to hate Thursdays if I have a live session. I don't know. The landscapers, hang on, we gotta wait. They're edging, they're trimming.
Have you ever like that would be
However,
crazy to use that. That'd be crazy to use that in a recording, like just as random, like just use that as a recording. Oh,
One of those
like while
Google
you're doing
rolls.
while you're doing a role like the Eggman role or something, for example, and then all of a sudden you just hear like that and you use that as a like an Easter egg reference. That would
We
be
need a sound
hilarious.
effect for the buzz saws on Eggman's
Yes.
latest machine. Wait, let me unmute this real quick.
Right.
I'm
The
more
lawn
looking at
guys are out there.
positive side of like clearly happy wife, happy life. Because if you hate Thursdays, that means the landscaping's being done to make her happy. Am I right?
Well, first when we moved here, I got a push mower because I thought, hey, look how environmentally friendly. I spent maybe 20 minutes out in the heat one day. No. Hello, landscapers.
Get him in here.
Not worth the time, not worth the pain in the butt.
No.
I am my grandfather, and my aunt's landscaper, and yeah, they still use push mowers, and I look at it as a way to pretend that I work out. Like, hey, if I'm out in the heat and I'm doing a push mower, that means I got my workout in for the day. So
No, I waved to them with a show of hi, thanks for being here.
Cindy, Mugen Lord, either of you guys got any questions? 'Cause I've got another one, but I want to make sure you guys get your time what night. I mean, you're here, I'm hired you for a reason. So I don't know if you guys got anything.
Yeah,
Well,
so you
seeing as
go ahead.
no, I was going to say, well, seeing as I'm actually getting introduced to you, Mr. Pollock,
Thank you.
I
Welcome.
I'm afraid I don't have any questions, but I have to admit I'm actually getting to be a real fan of your work.
Oh,
Um, I don't particularly like dubbed, but last night when Leon was showing me a bunch of your videos, I completely forgot I didn't like dubbed. I enjoyed your acting so much. You do
thank you.
such phenomenal work.
Thank you.
I
Thank you very
I was
much.
showing her basically the evolution of your work just to get her sort of prepped and whatnot. And once we got to the Sonic Boom clips, she was audibly laughing out loud. It was a good feeling.
Well, those were
You made
prelay. Those
me-
we recorded those first and then they animated. So don't even worry, those weren't dubbed.
So
I
actually,
think you did phenomenal. So
Thank you.
you made me a fan of Dr. Eggman. Nice.
Thank you. I recommend it.
Mugen, what about you, brother? You were about to say something?
Oh yeah, yes. The Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. Like how long was that session that you have done with that as far as recording is concerned?
Games usually take there's a joke here that would get me canceled. Up to 4 hours. Call your doctor. Depending on how long they need. It's all based on efficiency.
Okay.
Scripts are ready. Call in the actors. We all are scheduled. We're slotted and we record separately. So would have been about 4 hours or fewer.
Oh, awesome,
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah, 'cause
Some things are longer and take multiple sessions, but generally, depending on how much dialogue there is in the game, it could be up to 4 hours.
Oh, cool.
So you mentioned that the Boom got the English dub first, which is atypical. So when it comes to the do you have any knowledge of the localization for what happens with like Eggman from the Japanese side to when it gets translated and whatnot? Do you have any sort of I guess basically what's that process like in terms of recording for Eggman when the Japanese is clearly done first? Is there any difference or anything of note?
Pardon me. The room is full of people from Sega, Japanese people as well, translating and confirming that the script is legit. And if it's coming from Japanese, it's usually based on time. So, well, we got 3 seconds for this line, so make sure you say it in 3 seconds. Or there's some variability because we can do some digital programming magic to make it fit. But there are experts from the brand who say, make sure that what I'm saying is what it's supposed to be saying and that it sounds right.
And in relation to Sonic Boom, because from my understanding, most video game and anime voice acting, the talent is in a single booth. So as opposed to I've watched the behind the scenes stuff for Sonic Boom, you're all in the room together. Does that affect your? Oh, is that not true, or is that?
Aha. Yes and no. Because they're all in LA and I'm in New York, we would record simultaneously but separately most of the time. They would be all together in a booth in LA. I would be in a studio in New York, listening on headphones. There should have been a video component like this. There wasn't. So we would just be listening to each other in headphones. So we would interact in real time. And in those days, the studio would just send the files over after the fact, and then they mix them together magically. For a couple of special sessions where there was video involved in behind-the-scenes stuff, yes, I would get flown out on a lovely business junket with an expense account, and we would all get to record all together, which was great. And weird, because I was so used to being all by myself. The director was speaking to me at one moment, and I forgot I could actually look at him through the glass. Because I'm sitting listening. Oh my God, you're there! That's right. I mean, I knew he was there, but at the moment I forgot. He's usually just in headphones. And those were great. But we recorded ensemble style, at least non-geographically together. But we could work together in real time, which really makes it more magical. So
And this comment from Mary Mayhem actually follows up what I was about to ask. Is there a different? I imagine there's more of a sense of camaraderie. Did you think it improved the morale or improved the product or whatnot, or do you actually prefer the solo work? I don't know. Maybe it's more taxing to work in the same room as other people. Do you have a preference, and what's it like comparatively?
we laughed a lot more when we were together. We would goof up and we would make each other laugh intentionally. Some of the Twitter takeovers are also usually together too. When or during COVID, we recorded the Twitter takeover. That was our first non. That was our first recording from home for those things. So this all panned out and worked out very well. But for games, it's easier and more efficient to record separately. We go line by line, usually 2 in a row. Director picks a select of those 2, or if he doesn't like it, we go for 2 more, or maybe 1 more, and then he gets something. So it's because of the nature of games and the way the dialogue gets plugged in segments anyway, it's easier to record them in segments. For Boom, it was more like a radio play. We would all record together and then it would be animated. So there are functional reasons to do one versus the other. But even when I'm recording separately, the production team and I have a lot of laughs. So the director will get my jokes. God, Jack, great. Hi, Jack, if you're listening. And the production team will indulge my sense of comedy. But at least the director and he is an actor's director, and it is a joy to work with Jack.
That's fantastic to hear.
Yeah. Great that you get to have some sort of outlet for your comedy, considering Twitter doesn't seem to fucking like it.
What can you do?
So do you have any plans? Like, was this sort of experience, and not to harp on it too much, though, the question just popped in my head, with what happened just a couple weeks ago. Like, did you have a moment of like, maybe this isn't the place for comedy? Am I going to back off? Or are you like, nah, fuck it. It's my Twitter. I'll do what I want. I'm going to continue to make jokes. Like, where are you at with that?
I'm a smartass, as I've said there. And if you go to TV tropes, Jewish smartass is a trope because there are Jews and we're naturally smartasses. Like I say, we like that. We get it amongst our own. I'm not going to apologize for being a smartass when I'm a smartass. It's my personality.
Well, this could be a difficult question then. If you're not going to apologize for it, and this, I'm not trying to make it sound rude, but I'm curious, why did you delete the tweet? Maybe there's a reason for it, but why did you delete the response since it was very obviously a joke?
Because I realized that people would take it out of context, and I said my replacement tweet was a little softer to the people who would take it seriously. Because
more of a global.
Yeah, for the same reasons there are signs telling you not to climb on the refrigerator. Why? Because people climb on refrigerators. So okay, if we're going to take things literally and not think things through, here you go. But then my point was, as Twitter does, people screenshotted it. That's a horrible past tense. People screenshot it. People took a screenshot in the past.
It feels wrong. The typing out screenshot. It's a bad word. Anyway, continue.
People took a screenshot in the past, and then they spread that around. So I said quite pointedly and aptly, okay, I deleted my tweet. You saved my original tweet, and you're repropagating it. So who's going to be responsible for that now, huh? Thank you. That, of course, didn't go well. Figured it wouldn't, but it's a valid point.
I get the point. Yeah.
I took it back. You put it back out there. Hello.
Which one is it? Yeah, you can't win for losing. It's like it's one of those situations. Is that what they try to do? Is they try to put you in that situation where they try to put you in a lose-lose situation. Basically, they're trying to keep you once they try to, and that's why like one of the things that we tell people, or like I've told people, when it comes to dealing with these people, is don't ever apologize if you're not sorry for real. Like if you know what your intent was with it, don't apologize to these people, because the minute you apologize, they're gonna keep coming. It's like jumping into a fucking pool of sharks with a paper cut, and it's gonna happen. They smell blood. They're going.
I'm not going to do a non-apology. I'm sorry if you were offended. That's not an apology. It's unfortunate you don't get the jokes, but I can't help that. Mm-hmm. People there is, without getting into detail unless we really have to, I use the phrase
only your comfort level.
Thank you. I use the phrase to describe a condition of people involved in the current conflict, and people were offended by that phrase. And what I'm realizing, because someone pointed it out to me, they're offended because they misinterpret the meaning of the word, one of the words in the phrase. And if you're going to misinterpret the phrase and be offended because of your own interpretation, is that on me? I think that might be on you, because I can explain it to you, but I can't comprehend it for you.
Right.
Ah.
There's a saying that I tell people, because I had somebody. It came about some years ago when somebody was trying to like lecture me about something. Well, you're responsible for what you say, in regards to free speech and stuff. I'm responsible for what I say. I'm not responsible for what you understand. You
Or
know what
how
I'm
you
saying?
feel.
Or how you feel about it. And that's something that a lot of people, I guess it's lost with a lot of people. And they try to use the first half of that, oh, you're responsible for what you say, as a way to control speech. And we all know once you start controlling speech, that's when things start going downhill, really.
So yeah, actually, that's a great segue for this. I didn't really thought of that until you mentioned it, LG. But so we have seen, at least in my opinion, we've seen a concerted effort, I'd say, over the last 10 to 15 years, to, in the U.S., the place that's known for its free speech, curtail that and try and put in play, take control of what should and shouldn't be said, using weird buzzwords like hate speech and whatnot. Now, as an actor and somebody who's literally thrives on artistic creativity and whatnot, is that something you've picked up on? Is that and what are your thoughts on it, if you're willing?
Well, yeah, there's been a lot of silencing going on, and I get that, but curtailing free speech, I may not agree with what you say, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it. Yeah, people are going to have different opinions, and yes, I can disagree with your opinions. You're entitled to your own opinions, but not your own facts, is my basic rule of life. Believe what you want. We're going to disagree. We can disagree civilly. A lot of people have been attacking me with playground levels of F you, F you, F you. That's all you got. You couldn't have a conversation. You have to go to personal attacks and profanity. I try to aim a little bit higher with my discourse whenever possible, but that's just me.
Take those free Palestine folk. I would never at any point want to say you can't say that. I think saying that is fucking retarded. That being said, you live in a country that, as of right now, allows you to say that without fear of getting like your hand chopped off by the regime or whatever. Some countries don't have that. So the missed irony of being able to say this stuff while championing the removal of certain speech is beautiful. It's amazing. You love to see it.
Love is that's a word.
Yeah.
So
the irony is hilarious.
I have a question I want to ask, but Cindy, because you are just now playing through Frontiers for the first time, I'm gonna require you, or request you turn your volume down, and I'll give you like an ooga booga symbol or something when you can turn it back up. Because I want to ask a question specifically about something.
Spoiler alert.
Spoilers.
And for all the rest of you games out by 2022, if you haven't fucking played it yet, like that's on you. But I'm playing through it with Cindy for the first time, and it's been magical. So, Cindy, just do a jiggle real quick, so I know you've turned your volume down. I'm gonna take that as a yes, since I see your mouth moving. Eggman for a long time, for the past up until recently, had been he'd been toned down because they were going for a more child-friendly route, and then in Frontiers a couple years ago, you get the big reveal that he's now looking at this AI that he created, almost like a daughter. And you delivered that line near the end, my daughter, which, as somebody that is a parent and has grown up playing these games with my child and whatnot, affected me more than it probably should have, if I'm going to be honest. But as an actor, for you, what was that change and evolution to his character like, being able to bounce out of the silly stuff the last 10 years and do a performance like that?
I love the challenges that acting brings. I've played drama before. I played tragedy before. I played all range of emotions. The direction we got, the general direction, the note we got for Frontiers was we're going for more grounded. And I ended up doing a lot of stuff. When I played it back, I realized there's no character there. That's basically just me. Is that what you want? Is that okay? Yeah, that's what we want. Okay. I was able to, I'm not a method actor. Never have been. I have the knack, I guess we'd call it, of being able to turn on the acting like a switch. But I did think of my own daughter a little bit. My relationship with my daughter tends to be less tender like that. At least she's just starting college. So maybe when she gets married, give me a call. But I'm a dad joker. I go for the eye roll with my daughter. If I can say something delightfully cringeworthy dad pun, yes, I will. But there were thoughts of being the tender dad with my own daughter when I deliver that line, and the I'm playing in that moment for my audience is the people in the room, the director, the production team. They liked it, and we moved on to the next bit, and mission accomplished.
Yeah, it was a brilliant line delivery. Like the fact that
Thank
they make an after credit scene, they really hype up the emotions. And while you were telling that story, it reminded me, and this is just a yes, agreed, true gentleman scholar. Like one of the earliest photos of my child was actually she's probably like literally just a few weeks old, sitting in my lap while I have a controller in my hands, and the game I'm playing is Sonic Generations actually. So like that's again, it's one of those things that's just generationally. My granny showed me Sonic, and then I've grown up with it. Now I'm passing on to my it's. So yeah, just quick, emotional thank you sort of moment aside. Cinevere, there we go. She knows,
had Leon crying in the car. That's what it was. It had Leon crying in the car.
No, I'm a dad joker as well. Any moment I can take just to say something completely and utterly foolish, especially since they're that middle school age of like now it's really starting to matter, friends and going to the mall. So that's like, oh, you don't know what you're in for.
I didn't think I was going to be a cringy dad because my daughter, she in high school, and I never thought I'd be that dad that would say cringy lines and my daughter get embarrassed or say, "Dad, please stop."
Bro, you posted a picture of your daughter on X the other day with a cringy joke, and I was like, I could feel her embarrassment through the fucking photo, dude.
Jesus.
And for me, it's just so effortless. I can't help it. So I'm delighted to have a captive audience. And sorry,
it's my favorite type of humor, and I actually credit a lot of things that you've actually been attached to for being kind of foundational and formative to that sense of humor in me. Stuff from Sonic the Hedgehog and the Pokemon cartoon. There was so many puns, dad jokes, silly little one-liners, things like that. It was just, it was formative to me, and it's actually really cool because you have to put genuine thought behind that. A lot of people who don't necessarily, it's not their cup of tea, that type of humor, they don't think about it beyond, just saying something silly, but you actually do have to put thought into it's being able to connect words, right? And it's be able to play off of different meanings of words or things that sound like the same word, right? And there's a lot of fun to be had with that. And it's actually a great brain exercise to do that. If you can do that, it keeps you mentally athletic.
Sure. Words are always bouncing around in my head.
I want to follow up on the comedy thing, but before I do, I want to hit a couple super chats. It's been a minute. Smash JT, thank you so much. Came in with that $10 banger, says gotta go fast. Smash, thank you so much, brother. Truly appreciate you. And then Roadkill 101 with that $2 banger. Homie, it didn't need you, didn't even say anything. Just walked in, act like he fucking owns the place, and then walks out. Not a question, nothing. Thank you so much, Roadkill.
He just came in. He just came in, dropped $2, and said, "Bam, there you go."
Yo, and just walked out. So let's go back to 2003 when you did Sonic X. Now I was a massive fan of the adventure games. Those that like that. My granny, she bought my granny, she got diagnosed with cancer in the late 90s and couldn't go really do her outdoorsy stuff anymore. And she thought it in her 60s or 50s, whatever she was at the time, I'm gonna get into video games. And she bought a gaming PC and she bought a Dreamcast, and I was like 5, 6 years old, something like that, and she's sharing it with me, and that was like how I got into gaming and whatnot. And the first game that we got was Sonic Adventure, and then 2003 rolls around a few years later, and they're more or less adapting those games. That's when you got introduced. You're talking about your comedy, the way you do Eggman then. If you listen to what you do now compared to then, there actually is a notable difference, and it's almost vaudevillian. Is that the sort of comedy that you take in? Because you mentioned Don Rickles, which is an older comedian, so you clearly have deep past comedy roots. So what is it that, basically what's your comedy history?
A lot of Jewish comedy. What are the odds?
Three Stooges?
A little bit. I mean, technically they were Jewish comedy.
They were Jewish.
Robert
I didn't
Klein.
know they were Jewish, really? I didn't know Three Stooges were Jewish.
Yeah, Three Stooges were Jewish as fuck, bro.
Sure.
I'm glad I'm not the only one, LG.
Larry Fine.
I was a kid. I was just a kid at the time.
Sure. Yeah.
Sorry, continue,
Go ahead,
Mike. My
sorry.
bad.
Same with the Marx Brothers, also classic Jewish comedy back from the days of black and white. Robert Klein, excellent. He doesn't perform nearly as much as he did. I met him behind the scenes at he did a show at one of our local colleges upstate New York, and I went to cover it for my college radio station. He actually gave me a little ball busting as well. I'm remembering now. I was as a kid, and I had not quite developed into my full adult personality. So I said, "Excuse me, Mr. Klein, I have a question. Why are you talking like a puppy?" Thank you very much. I survived that. Thank you very much. Gabe Kaplan, welcome back, Cotter. He had a comedy album that I enjoyed. George Carlin, not a Jewish comedian, but brilliant in so many ways. Both
George Carlin was. I mean, he's one of the greatest to have ever done it. I think Norm Macdonald is the greatest, but George is probably on the Mount Rushmore of comedy. Yes,
both early and later Carlin. Tom Lehrer, who we mentioned earlier, Jewish comedian, Jewish musical satirist, brilliant because of he is a genius college professor. He taught mathematics, and the way
entire song that was listing off all the elements, and it's a brilliantly written song, but it's also it's catchy, but it can teach you the periodic table. Like, yeah, it's very well done song.
When I was a professional song parodist, and even before then, I parodied that. I rewrote that for a company Christmas party with the names of all our employees, and performed that. Hi, that was really good too.
The way near the end of the song where he to force the rhyme, have it been to scav, or he changed. It's so good.
He does that plenty of times. Check his back catalog. He has done a brilliant thing, by the way. He has released all of his catalog into the public domain. Before he passed, he has not yet passed. Still with us. He is tomlehrersongs.com. He has released all his songs with notes and lyrics and recordings, and a big note saying, "I, being a sound body and mind, released it to the public. Sound body and mind." Hi, English. I speak English, man.
So, real quick, I do want to draw attention to this chat because this is from my buddy Niet. He is he's also a fellow YouTuber. He's a Black Australian, and this is what you were saying earlier about comedy having levels to it. I think this is a hilarious show. Celebrating Jewish comedians on Black History Month. Kanye is going to have a field day.
Yeah.
That's why I had to laugh.
That was good, Niet. Sorry, continue, Mike.
He also did a song later, not released in his original set of albums. That's Mathematics was going to be a parody of That's Entertainment. He just couldn't get the rights to the music, so he did it as a musical pastiche. Same tempo and same rhythm, different tune. And just some of his. You
really are a musician. You know what a pastiche is. Not that I doubted you or whatnot. Just like that's something. I'm a musician. It's something that only other musicians would know is what a pastiche is. That's Sorry. Well, you impressed me. Continue.
Thank you. As during my radio days, I worked for a radio syndication company, writing comedy bits and song parodies. I would get 13 song parodies a week because we had a quota then, and so I can make a song parody appear magically in a matter of minutes. Thank you very much. But yeah, it's Tom Lehrer stuff, just brilliant. His way with music and his tunes. One of his later songs. It's featured on my website in one of the screeds that I wrote called Selling Out. It is a 4 or 5 part counterpoint thing where it builds on itself until at the end he's just singing with himself 4 or 5 times over, multi-track. It's brilliant and so mathematically well done. Who else for comedy? Some classic Jewish albums. You Don't Have to Be Jewish and When You're in Love, the Whole World is Jewish. Just old 1960s sweet loving comedy stylings with some great thick Yiddish accents that make me laugh.
So to take this out of the realm of your voice acting and whatnot, is there? This is something I ask a lot of folks anytime I meet them. I travel to cons, do the con circuit, the whole nine. Sometimes as a guest, sometimes just as a individual that's going for fun, the whole nine. I love talking to folks about things that don't pertain to their work. What are some just hobbies or things that you do or interests that might surprise people? Maybe you're into taxidermy and you've got like a stuffed eagle in your basement. I don't know. Like what do you like?
I have the geekiest hobbies. Possibly a little OCD working here. Recently, I've been obsessed as being the old man and adding various vitamins and supplements and prescription meds to my life. There are medication reminder apps that remind you when to take your meds. And I like the ones that let you add custom imagery. So I scour the internet for glamour shots of my various meds where you can read the little markings on them. And I crop them and zoom and make sure they're nice and square and beautifully cropped and put them in the medication reminder. And when I go from one med to the one reminder app to the next, because I've been auditioning several, well, this one accepts rectangular, but this has to be square. Okay, I've got to go back and recrop everything and find better shots. I obsess about those until it's absolutely perfect and get all the timings right and the dose changes. It's great. But my true hobby, my wife and I love show tunes. We're both musical theater people.
Yes, let's go. I'm all
Okay.
in. I'm a big musical fan. Let's hear it.
The shows we like are from the UK. Some of them provide a catch-up service. Some of them don't. The ones that don't, I record them in various bootleg ways to get high quality recordings. Then I will take them and make sure that they are professionally produced because I turn them essentially into private podcasts. So I make sure the end starts nice and cleanly, the beginning starts nice and cleanly. If there's a news break in the middle, I take that out. Then I run it through an AI thing. As much as I have problems with AI making deep fakes, this is brilliant. It takes a recording, a show with multiple songs, listens to it at a tremendously high speed, and makes a playlist and tells you which songs they are, title, performer, album, or in this case, the show it comes from. When it starts, so you get a full playlist, and then in my podcast app, when it becomes a podcast, the podcast app will search the web for matching album art, and then as you play it in the car on Android Auto for me, the album art and titles show up. That is just so cool. And there are like 5 of them. So I do 2 on a Saturday, 3 on a Sunday. Sometimes there are problems in the recording, so I have to do restoration work, or the songs don't match. So I have to go and reconcile this AI song with the actual show playlist and make sure that all the songs match whenever possible. Wow. It's delightfully geeky. And then we listen back to them, or I get a tremendous backlog of multiple weeks and I get all OCD about, we have a backlog. We have to listen to our shows. That's my hobby. Thank you.
I'm actually glad you brought AI because I mean both Andrew and Mugen Lord here are in the comic book business. It was a big point. Mugen Lord actually just released his first one. Can't wait to get in the mail. So psyched. LG here does music, and so the subject of AI has been getting more and more is becoming a topic of conversation over the last couple of years. Now out the gate, I've told you all this in my audience. And I'll tell you again. I do not give a good goddamn that AI is being used. However, basically, it's about how you use it, not that it exists. It's a tool like nothing else. Yes. Guns don't kill people. People do. I think AI the same way. The printing press didn't put the pencil out of business, but there will always be those who use it for nefarious purposes. So being in the creative arts where you see scripts and even full video games. Cinevere did a trailer reaction yesterday to an AI-generated video game. Is there fear of how that's going to be used in terms of your work? What are your thoughts on AI outside your personal life? Things to that
effect. There's that cough again. Yeah, there are professional risks. I was just in a Zoom call earlier about the current state of AI. The challenge for actors is that at the moment there are no laws giving us the right to our own voice. You can copyright a book, a play, a movie. You can't copyright a voice. So when people use the various tools that are available to everyone to steal people's voices that are publicly available and turn them into AI models and make deepfakes for whatever purposes, usually not good, there's really no legal recourse other than a takedown notice. Hi, I see my voice model is on your site. Can you please remove it? But there should...
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Do you mind if I ask a question in regards to that?
You just did.
Fair enough.
Thank you. There's that Jewish humor.
There's that.
Notice that took no time at all. Reflex, purely reflex. Go on. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Now obviously we have parody laws. That's why you were able to make parody music. Weird Al's able to do things. People on YouTube. So if it is disclaimed that people were using AI for parody purposes, is that if they were going to use your voice, they wouldn't need the rights to that, I assume. Would you have an issue with that? Do you think that would be a problem? Or is there a certain level of what can be used without the rights that you think should be legally acceptable?
It's a very tough question. Again, we're going back to free speech. And yes, as a parodist myself, parody, the Supreme Court generally protects parody as fair use. But people always say, well, parody is fair use. That's actually determined by a court. If somebody decides, I object to that parody for some reason, brings it to a court, and the court decides this parody, not fair use. So it's not a blanket thing. It has to go through a court. By the way, I'll point out that my troubles are not being tried in the court of law, but in the court of public opinion, where all bets are off. But that's another matter. So it would be based on context. If it's profanity laced and cruel and painting me or its subject in a negative light, I would probably raise a complaint about that.
Actually, you have, it's funny, your IMDb uses a quote that echoes something similar. So you apparently held this belief pretty consistently. Let me see if I can pull it back up, because I did want to ask you about this quote. And you can also, IMDb can be edited by anyone, so you can tell me if this is bullshit. I've come to make an announcement. Please don't ask me to fill a character's mouth with profanity. If the folks in charge wouldn't use that kind of language, I'm certainly not going to do it myself. I'm not just an actor. I'm kind of a character caretaker, and a lot of fans think of me as somehow representing the company. I don't want to cause anyone any trouble, especially myself. Feel free to hear my voice in your head, but let's let the official team members put words in my mouth. Thanks. Sorry, I want to make sure I had it right.
That is absolutely correct, and that is a direct response to what is affectionately known as the Snapcube dub, which, if anyone's heard of it, it stands on its own. I have been asked to say it. It is.
Is that where that one phrase, that word that people keep asking you to? I always wonder where that came from. I had no idea what that was in reference to.
Yeah, it's a fan dub that became quite viral in its popularity, and it would never pass Sega's muster. It's profane for the sake of being profane, which is fine. People think I have a problem with profanity. Absolutely not. I can curse I can curse like a sailor if I need to, and if it's appropriate to the character, if it's in the script, you can find clips of me saying the F word in a podcast if you really want to, because it was in the script. Yeah. But it's not in the Eggman scripts. That's not a thing. So people say, "Could you say this thing?" No, I would get in trouble. There are morality clauses and other stuff in our contracts, but the general rule of thumb is you don't bite the hand that feeds you by disparaging the material that you've been hired to assist in storytelling. So I'm not gonna.
I have plenty of voice actors who also refuse to sign unlicensed fan art, for example, because it's not licensed by the company or brand. Now, I don't know if that maybe Bandai Namco has a rule, or maybe that's just their personal rule because, like you said, don't bite the hand that feeds you. But it's not unheard of for voice actors to hold that sentiment, from what I can gather.
Yeah, remember that our names are on contracts, so there are legally binding things that we have to keep in mind. So yes, I'm sure you'd find it hysterical to have me do, but I would not. Now, it's been done with AI, it's been deep faked. I've not been thrilled with that, and I've taken necessary precautions to make sure that doesn't happen. Not entirely within my control, but yeah, because dozens, if not hundreds of people have said, "Can you say the thing?" No. So I made a video saying just that. And I started it as an intentional comedy mislead. I'm going to say the line now, "I've come to make an announcement." And then I went just into my normal voice reading the rest of that quote, because no, I can't do that. Now, of course, I shouldn't be surprised, but, well, at least you said the first line, that's all we wanted. Okay, thanks for not paying attention to the rest of the important message, kids. But yeah, no, that's
the state of pretty much people on the internet.
I know.
It's just like it's like
dealing with
children.
As I have often said, the internet is perpetually 12. And I don't mean
on a good day.
13 on a good day. On a good day,
exactly.
13. Maybe.
Yeah, exactly. So until Sega comes and says, "Okay, we're finally doing that announcement now." Okay, if that's what's presented to you in the session, you bet. But until that time, no. The best I am Mr. Analogy. You bring the UPS driver can't drive the truck around town after work. The truck belongs to UPS. He's hired to drive the truck and then bring it safely back to the garage.
Well, I think you used a phrase that my heart was warmed. I got all tingly inside when you referred to yourself and other people who are voice actors of characters, iconic and whatnot, as caretakers
Mhm.
of those characters. And there's a perception that comes with that. There's a responsibility to that, whether it's somebody who is writing said character and ensuring that that character's spoken voice is maintained, the characterization is maintained, right? Or someone like yourself who does the actual auditory, the voicing part of it. Like, people have seen these characters in certain ways for so many years, decades in the case of Sonic's franchise. And the franchise itself is also geared mostly towards a younger audience as well. And so all it takes is, some kid, seeing whoever, whether it's yourself doing Eggman's voice or anybody else from the various casts doing different characters' voice, adding in profanity into, the line of a character, and that can have a ripple effect. And that's the kind of thing that can really harm a fan base and harm people's perceptions of characters. And I think it's important, and I'm really glad that you do see yourself as a caretaker of the character that has been placed into your hands.
Thank you.
A character you have done a wonderful job with for
Thank you
2
very
decades
much.
plus.
And
Right.
people will counter, well, the SpongeBob cast does it. The SpongeBob cast also records all together all the time, and the producer is in the show. So I'm sure they've
Yeah.
discussed what's acceptable when out of the booth. But
Yeah.
no,
I mean,
no.
I think
Real
this.
quick before we continue,
ahead.
I want to say there are 237 people watching across platforms. First of all,
Hi,
thank you
people.
so much. That is amazing. There's also a lot of questions coming in. I'm not saying this to grip or make money. The reason I'm saying this is because the chat is moving very fast, and I don't want to interrupt the flow of conversation. If you have super chats and questions you want to ask Mike, or if you have questions you want to ask Mike, super chat them in so they are highlighted so that we can get to them and not break the flow of conversation. We've been taking super chat breaks. Just putting that out there because there are a lot of you watching this. Chat's moving fast, and we also have a range of discussions and topics to get through. So thank you very much for everybody watching. Truly appreciated. Sorry, continue.
No, I was gonna say honestly, it really does depend on to the character. Like we mentioned earlier, like SpongeBob, they do certain things. There's certain things with the character that they, certain things allow because the SpongeBob people allow, or maybe Mike Pollock will allow it. Like you don't understand. Like Mike Pollock he's got ties with Sega. Okay, he's got like I think like as somebody that I guess that doesn't understand on the outside looking in, I guess a lot of people don't understand the outside things. People just think that just as a consumer, they think as a consumer they're like if they can, if this other people could do it, this other person should be able to do it. And what's good for the goose is not always good for the gander all the time. You know what I'm saying? So I think honestly, people should just take it for what it is. If you can't do a certain thing, it should be okay. They should take that and be like, all right, cool. If a fan art or somebody that's a fan does it, let it be that. Let it stay as fan art. Like don't, and to kind of go back to what you were saying earlier, I kind of I dabble in AI a little bit myself. I and like to look like with Leon, I think it is a tool, and like you just established, like it you use it as a tool because it makes things faster. Like imagine the work you have to do to sit up here, find the song, find out where it is on Spotify, do all of this yourself. Now you probably wouldn't mind it because that's part of your hobby, but imagine how much easier that makes your life. Like it's a tool, and that's exactly what the intent is for. I think once you keep it with that, you're good.
Yeah, I did it for a while manually when I had to, and the point of that hobby is I try to keep it as free as possible. But the AI thing, I actually pay for it. It ends up being about $100 a month, and I had to think, is this really going to be a labor saving? Yeah, it is. It actually saves a lot of time. Is as inaccurate as it can be because I still have to double check it. But double checking it is just basically 3 columns of information: title artist here, title artist there, and then yeah, okay, match. Oh, now the match got to fix that. It's worth it ultimately. But yeah, it is a tool. And believe me, Google Gemini, he listens to so much of my minutia questions of life. Why do we drive in parkways and park in driveways? I love that. I have a trivia brain, and I have just the other day I had a question that's been nagging me for much of my entire life. When I was a kid, not a kid, I was in college. I put in my contact lenses, and I was using preservatives preserved saline solution back then. And one day I was staying at a friend's house, and he saw me in the morning and said, "What are those red streaks on your face?" What? I looked in the mirror. Oh, that's got to be the contact lens solution. I must be allergic to that. It's potassium sorbate or sorbic acid, which is the preservative. And I've noticed that's in food, and I've been asking doctors whenever I see a doctor, by the way, this, if I eat it, is it the same as a contact dermatitis on my face? I don't know. I asked Gemini, I said, it's different in food. You'll be fine. Thank you. So Gemini listens to me in all my little tiny questions of life.
Well, if I can take this back for a moment, because you actually mentioned about copywriting your voice, and there was a story a couple of years ago, and maybe as an actor, you'll be able to give some insight into this. So James Earl Jones, prior to his passing, supposedly sold the rights to his voice to Disney so they keep using AI to voice Darth Vader. Now, because you mentioned not being able to copyright a voice, can you not copyright your own personal voice, whether it's a famous character? Because you actually have voice trademark of Eggman also on your website, if I recall. I could be misremembering, but so can you trademark famous fictional character voices but not your own? How does that work, and what do you think of somebody like James Earl Jones selling the rights to their voice so it can be continue to be used after his passing? Also, disclosure, fuck Disney, Star Wars is not real Star Wars, but that's neither here nor there. Go on.
All right, then. It's tricky because the character is the intellectual property, and the character is what's copyrighted. The character, my characterization as the character, technically belongs to Sega. Now, there are many who will say, "Oh, your voices sound the same." That's a matter of debate for another time.
Your Pokemon voice, I didn't even realize it was you when you said when you were listing off your credits earlier. I didn't realize that you did the narration for Pokemon. I was like, holy shit! Now that he said it, I can hear it. But that's not Eggman.
Ash and friends are on their way to the Hoenn League. I don't know what I'm talking about, but yes, I will point out as I cough my brains out. Me yelling is me yelling. So when I yell at the top of my lungs as Eggman, it's going to sound the same in pretty much any yelly character I do. So, okay, there's that. So the loophole people love to say, well, if you can't do the announcement, why don't you do it as this other character that sounds just like Eggman? No. So, yeah, it's tricky. You can't really copyright the character voice as such. I'm going to use a similar voice in other characters just organically. But for the sake of in the James Earl Jones situation, he is specifically, they were discussing it in the AI thing, was like to voice, image, name, likeness. So he is licensing his voice, his likeness to do Disney/Star Wars to use as this character. He has every right to do it. He did it before his death, which is great. Afterwards, it would be them negotiating with his estate, which I guess they would still do at some point. But sure, just like Tom Lehrer releasing his songs into the public domain while he's still alive, great time to do it while you're still alive. Would I do the same under the same circumstances? I would. Yeah, the thing about it is, I love the performing.
Yeah,
I love being in a studio and surprising myself and others with a great line read. When I do a line, that don't isolate that, kids. When I record a line, and thank you. See, took you a second. When I record, thank you very much. When I record a line of dialogue, and I get a great reaction from not only the people in the room, but me, I'll laugh at my own performance. I'm my biggest fan. Or if it's something who's so touching, I said, wow, that came out better than I thought. Those are the moments of doing what I do that make it so great. The discovery, the challenge, I didn't know I could do that. Look what I did.
Yeah.
AI doesn't have that. Yeah. It can sound naturally more these days, but it's inherently soulless as far as the performance and the art form. That's why doing a live show, when I did a live, it's supposed to be 3 weeks. Hang on, I'm coughing my lungs.
No, you're good. If you die on camera, it'll be a historical moment for the show. So
you saw it here first, ladies and gentlemen. My off-Broadway thing was going to be great for a 3-week run. The first week I had COVID, I couldn't do it. But the second 2 weeks of the show, especially since I didn't have all the rehearsal and stuff that I would have had because of the COVID, every show was different, mostly because I screwed up lines differently in every single show. But that's the beauty of live theater. I missed that. I was so fearful of it because I hadn't done a live show in years and didn't know if I'd remember dialogue, and I couldn't only because of the broken rehearsal in COVID. But apart from that, there was magic every night of live theater. You don't get that from AI. I hope that AI is the one thing that's not going to be that live theater is the one thing that's not going to be ruined by AI. But as far as our stuff that we're doing that's pre-recorded, yeah, AI can do that, but should it? It's not acting. It's programming, which is
So
It's
that actually,
interesting.
no, go for it, Andrew. My
I
bad.
was going to say it's interesting because on the one hand, on an emotional level, as a fan, I can say, man, I would love to make sure that not just myself, but generations after me are hearing this voice for this character, whether it's Eggman, whether it's Darth Vader, whoever, for decades and decades and decades, long after that person has left the mortal coil, right?
Mhm.
But on the other hand, just to what you said, to your point, AI is still soulless, and there are inflections and little things that make all the difference in the world
Mhm.
to the quality and the believability, the sell of a performance compared to when you have something AI generated. And in those cases, you're like, yeah, that sounds like the character's voice, but it's missing the character's soul.
It's the uncanny valley,
Yeah.
and it
Well,
takes your
and you
brain right
heard
out
it. I
of it.
mean, did you watch Kenobi by chance, Mike? The Disney Plus show Kenobi?
I did not. I've heard of it, but I haven't watched it.
Oh, thank God. Well, it's terrible, but you can tell
You said.
you can tell that Darth Vader isn't Darth Vader because they use the AI. Like for anyone that grew up watching Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi, these classic beloved Star Wars films, when you watch Kenobi, it feels like a nostalgia cash grab because you could audibly tell, even to the untrained ear, that there's something wrong. You might not be able to tell what it is if you're not familiar with how audio and whatnot works, but there's something inherently off about it.
And the thing, when I listen to AI, I wonder, somebody signed off on that. Did they not notice? Like AI commercials are happening now. I have heard that they're very big in the automotive industry. I know people who have been replaced by AI, and if you know what you're listening to, you can tell. But even some, one of my favorites on one of the obscure little Jewish radio stations that I happen to listen to, they read an email and repeat it twice. So it goes, that's doobie-doobie-doo at gmail.com. That's doobie-doobie-doo at gmail.com. No! Punctuate that better. It should sound, if you're reading it correctly, doobie-doo-doo at gmail.com. That's doobie-doobie-doo at gmail.com. Not at gmail.com.
Here's the problem with that, Mike. So AI, of course, is learning based on everything that it's absorbing on the internet, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you've been on the internet, you've read Twitter, you realize that people don't know what the fuck a comma is. Like,
it's funny as hell, man. I honestly, like I said, I still, because I use it. I've been messing around with AI art, and matter of fact, Andrew I did something minor for Andrew a while back to kind of just show him what I was working on, to what extent, because I also do to me it's a tool in the belt, because I've argued with people with this, but I still support artists. I still support actual artists. I still support music. I do music myself, and I had somebody ask me about this when it comes to music, and I'm like, you can tell as somebody that, especially me, I do music, and I'm sitting there and I do music all the time. You could tell there's a lot of people, especially on YouTube. It's great for people on YouTube that do these intros, these parody songs on YouTube, and stuff like that, and it gets it out. But you can tell there's just, after a while, once you hear it, there's not a soul there. It's not the same as sitting here, getting a mic and recording into the mic, making multiple takes, going in, and there's audio, listening and having the soul of music, what I'm saying, from a more musical standpoint. I've argued with several people before when it comes down to music, that a lot of younger people now are starting to go back with streaming services, are starting to go back and listen to older songs, like the Michael Jacksons and this, that, and the third, and they're starting to realize that these older songs have soul in them. There's they're listening. There's people that are 25, 23, 25, talk about. I'm a big
I mean,
Michael
disclaimer:
Jackson
Prince
fan.
is better than Michael Jackson, but go on.
Hey, we can talk about that too. Hey, Prince is good too. Don't get me. Hey,
So continue,
hey,
OG.
to me, it's
Both
like a
great.
buffet. Both. I'm eating like a buffet. I'm like a fat kid at the buffet. I'm just like eating both of them. But I think honestly, I think people just, I don't know. I think I agree to some things. Things could be, continue on if you can, but just you got to remember there's a soul behind. Like remember, the soul replicates the soul. I guess if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
I don't know.
AI, it's great as a tool. It's great for private use, but I was trying to teach my wife, good luck to me, is she here, to use AI for a couple things. She was working on a set design for a school show, and I said, well, why don't you use one of the generative AIs to make a mock-up to give to the stage crew. And she was fighting with it for about an hour. No, this needs a notch in the flat. No, not the notch over here. And she got very frustrated. And we waited, I think, about a year, and then we tried again. She wanted to get some artwork done for my daughter and her boyfriend on their spirit animals. His is a duck, hers is a snail. So she tried to get one of the generative AIs to make a picture of a duck with its wing around a snail.
So he's a quack and she's slow.
Something like that. So she could get the duck, she could get the snail, but she could not get the duck's wing properly around the snail. And even she said, no, take the wing and put it around the snail. No, couldn't happen. So she hates AI just for that reason. Because when it doesn't listen, it does not listen.
Yeah, but it takes some more.
AI,
I was just saying, it takes some, as somebody who kind of does it and dabbles in it, and I've actually talked with other people that do it. Like I said, I also use it on top of Photoshop too.
Mm-hmm.
So like, there's certain things that what I'll do is, for example, I let the AI part fix it, whatever it can, and then I'll just add the other stuff in there, like other stuff, like say, for example, it doesn't get the atmosphere like completely correct or whatever, or it'll get most of it, but then like I have other pictures of like fog, atmospheric fog, rain, whatever, and I can do that and add that in there to my to edits and stuff like that to kind of give it that extra boost in quality. It's really, like I said, like we mentioned earlier, it's really up to you. A lot of people think that AI is an end all be all, and it's really not. It's still, you still have to work at it. It'll raise the baseline, sure, but for those that know what they're doing, or those that know how to already have a mind to know what they're doing, and then add AI on top of it, it's going to just boost your productivity, and it's going to boost what you already have. So that's really to me, that's why I think it's not a bad idea. You know what I'm saying?
The point of the spirit animal exercise was to make a mock-up to give to an artist, but we never got that far. She just gave up. Said, no, this will never work. Okay, great.
So you were talking about the use of AI and what you wouldn't want that done with your voice. It does raise an interesting question. Obviously, there will be a time when you retire from the role of Eggman, or you pass it on, the whole nine, to just something. God forbid, it's a long ways off, because you are. I think you are everybody here's Eggman. Like, you are not my first Eggman, but you are my Eggman, and that it's been that long, that generational.
Here.
Any part of you want to, when you decided, you know what, it's time for me to not do this anymore, or whatnot, meet with whoever is your replacement, talk to them. Like for example, when Tom Holland was cast as Spider-Man, he met with Tobey Maguire and Tom Holland, things to that effect. Is there a part of you that wants to do that, to sort of like pass the torch on the role, or are you just like, nah, we'll just let whoever take it and trust them? What are your thoughts on eventually retiring from Eggman?
It's not usually done that way, just because it's the casting process. It's okay, time for a change, and we change and we recast. Just like when we replaced the Adventure era cast.
I was going to ask about what's known as the 2010 culling we were working. So yeah, go on.
Yeah, in 2003, when we got the roles, we were not in touch with the previous folks. Dean Bristow died in 2005. Coincidentally, by the way, people like to say, oh, well, Mike was hired because... No, I was hired. I was in the game. We were recording for the game before he passed. It's correlation, not causation. But that's another matter.
If it was causation, though, that would be true. Jews control the gaming industry. You can just have voice actors whacked. Like,
thank you very much. Yes, cheers, space lasers, everyone. we didn't meet our predecessors. I just saw a bunch of them at a convention earlier, but we had not met before. When they recast in 2010, which I was invited to re-audition, and they liked me again. The Four Kids cast didn't pass on any words of wisdom to the LA cast now. It's
Really, I find
and
that interesting.
it's not because the folks in production know what they want, and actors are actors. We can find our own way through a character. It's not passing a torch in that literal sense. I guess it could happen, but recasting happens all the time, and it's the production people who do the casting. And okay, we for some reason you're doing a stage show, somebody's contract is up, you're somebody else, now you're in it, make it your own. So you're really making it your own, even if you're starting as a sound alike, you're making it your own ultimately. So no, I would.
I mean, to be fair, you have made Eggman your own. Like again, there
Thank you.
is a difference between your Eggman and the adventure era Eggman. And speaking of someone who's Sonic Adventure, by the way, is not just my favorite Sonic game; it's my favorite game of all time. And so to say that like you're my Eggman, despite the fact that's my favorite, like you have made Eggman your own. So I imagine there's got to be some sort of at least emotional ownership over that character, whether justified or not.
It's great to do, and I love that they keep asking me back. But yeah, it is purely. It's still I'm a pawn of the casting system. I've been replaced in stuff because sometimes you get replaced in stuff. I've been fired from my day jobs too because sometimes you get fired from day jobs. So work is about competence. As long as I'm deemed competent, no pun intended, then I get to keep. They keep calling, and I get to keep doing what I do. But it's
Is that why you were the only one? And maybe you can't go into this. I'm not sure, but in 2010, almost everybody was recast, with the exception of you. They carried you on, and is that because of the iconography of your voice as Eggman? Was it a competency thing? Like, do you know and are able to share the reasons as to why you were the only one that basically made it through the 2010 recast?
It was not, to my knowledge, a foregone conclusion. I was minding my own business when the phone rang, and it was an agent that occasionally represents me in LA. And she said, "Yeah, I have this audition for you. It's, I guess, a role you've done before, a Dr. Eggman." Yeah, I guess I thought I was still doing it, but okay. Well, here, I'll send you the stuff. And I got the sides, the bits of script that they send, and I just sent it back doing what I had been doing, the Eggman voice that I'd been using up until that
So you
point.
still had to re-audition in 2010 when everyone was okay. That I had not heard before. Everyone just talks about how you made it through and whatnot. I didn't realize there was effectively there was a chance in 2010 you could have been recast.
Now, whether that was just a formality and, well, we'll recast it, but we still want to look like we're re-auditioning, I don't know. I haven't asked. It's not really, that would be somewhat inappropriate to ask. So I'm glad that they liked it again. And that's really the best I can hope for. So it's the casting process. We actors, our job is looking for work. That is the work. The work is play, but we spend our time constantly auditioning. Just because I have a big gig, there are still other hours in the day and in the week that I'd love to fill with stuff. So I got auditions. I got auditions last night. I got one today. I may or may not do it, depending on how the voice holds out. But one of the joys of voiceover is the ability to squeeze multiple roles into a day or into a week. And I'd love to work as often as possible. So I'm always auditioning for stuff. It's up to whether the people hearing my auditions like it enough to hire me. But one of the joys is the ability to multitask, not asynchronously, but to be multiple characters in multiple things. So I love auditioning. I love booking the audition even better, but auditioning is what we do. So it's not up to me. It's up to the people casting the shows, casting directors and producers and directors.
I wish more people understood that concept.
As I hate to quote myself again, but as I love to say, people love the show, but forget the business. There's a whole bunch of business that people forget.
Yeah, that part.
I've only got one further question. We've got 15 minutes left. I've got one further question, and then I would anybody else on the panel who has additional questions, Mugen Lord, Cindy, the whole nine. But seeing as you obviously there's no plans that I know of for you to step down as Eggman anytime soon. There was in Frontiers a major change to Eggman's character by the end of it. And is there anything just from an acting perspective that maybe you're looking forward to exploring more in the characters, something you dig in the bag, do something you haven't done before? Is there anything you're wanting out of the character that you've never done, or or not, I guess?
I love the surprise of whatever they put in front of me. I love rising to the challenge. I love that they will occasionally write things with my skill set in mind. But no, it's unlike hi again, unlike a stage show where it was the same show. Well, it was supposed to be the same show night after night. It wasn't, because I screwed up dialogue, and that can get boring long term. My brother-in-law was in the original cast of Phantom of the Opera for some 20 or so years. How he could stand that, I don't know.
I tell you one more
That's
question.
actually wicked cool.
I was gonna
Thank
wrap by asking your top 5 favorite musicals instead of your musical theater guy. But anyway, sorry, continue with this first.
Yeah, he was Broadway's original auctioneer. Look him up. And he stayed in that until he passed. And how he did that and kept it fresh, even though he changed roles a couple times during his run. I don't know that I could do that. But with voiceover, especially, or any type of episodic work on TV, film, whatever, it's always something new. Wow, what's happening today? I will go into sessions often with no idea what the script is. Sega sends stuff in advance now that we're remote, and I will usually at least go through and highlight lines, but it depends on what my time schedule is and whether I can. But other than that, going in with cold reading stuff is a great thrill. So I love the challenge of what's put in front of me.
Excellent. Anybody got any final questions before I ask him actually, let's hit this new super chat that just came in. $1.99 from Black Mesa. Mike is the GOAT. Great guest at Retro Game Con 18. Do you I know that you probably do so many cons that they all blur together, but do you have memories of Retro Game Con 18?
Not specifically, but I remember that it existed and I had a great time. Yes, actually, no, I do. Syracuse, New York, my alma mater. So I know Syracuse well. I've been to Syracuse a couple times. Yes, that was before I had convention agents and merch. So from a presentational standpoint, could have been better, but still, just to be back in Syracuse for a real life reason was great. My wife was with me. We visited her friends and family. I visited friends and family. We got caught up on our favorite restaurants. It was great. So Syracuse, love to have you.
Melee K coming in with the 5 words of paradise gift memberships. You didn't need to. Thank you so much. I said we weren't going to be doing clips. We're at the end of the show. I'll go ahead and run a clip specifically because this is honestly kind of funny. And you know what? Just so Mike is not involved in this and isn't tarnished, I'm going to go ahead and quickly remove him. This is for you. Thank you so much.
Now excuse me while I harass someone for having pronouns in their bio.
There we go.
Thank
I figured
you so
it
much.
might not be best to have you be a part of that. Just I don't want people clipping shit out of context and whatnot. But you know,
Thank you.
Melee's a good gal. She's recently played through Sonic 06 for the first time, which is known as not being one of the greatest. But I won't lie, I fucking love the game. And you also that was a performance.
Love being in it.
Yeah,
you look
shining performance.
It's a broken game. Story wise, God, it's great. And you did. I think that was, in my opinion, your first major change as Eggman. You went more dark and menacing. And
06 was like when the E3 trailer, and I thought it was a Final Fantasy trailer because Sega now moved over to the Xbox 360. The graphics, the visuals look great. I said, oh, a new Final Fantasy game. But when I saw Eggman come down, and he wasn't like fat, he was like really tall, he was much more thinner. I heard your voice. I said, oh my God, this is a Sonic game. I just lost my mind. Man. Some of the best performances, was from that game that I really, really enjoyed.
Thank you. Usually we don't get any visual reference for a recurring game because we've seen the characters. Couple of times, Boom was the other notable exception because of the different character design. But for 06, I saw the characters like, oh, that's different. And then I saw the dialogue with actual violence and stuff and said, well, this can't be the comedy read that people have been expecting. So I had to go darker to match the script. That's acting. That's basic script breakdown.
Just that intro, because I don't know if it's like Hollywood where sometimes they film stuff out of order. Do you always film stuff in order, or is it
generally when we were doing Sonic X, where I was both Eggman and Ella, we would do all the Eggman stuff and then come back for all the Ella stuff, or vice versa? I don't remember. Probably Ella first because the Eggman takes off the falsetto from Ella pretty quickly. But yeah, generally it's a radio play like Sonic Boom, where it is ensemble. We can follow the story from beginning to end pretty much because we're all there. There were a couple of episodes where not everyone was available, so we would just do the scenes I'm in and whoever else was there, and they would save the other scenes for later. But generally, a pre-lay show is fairly sequential. Games jump around just because we're only going through my lines, so I get a context of the scene and then my line, my line, my line, my line, my line, my line.
Well, the reason is because that very introductory scene, which is the first time we see this new sort of modern Eggman.
Yeah.
You're almost like a Bond villain. You're very much right this way, princess. But even though you're being technically polite, there's this sinister undertone. It's
Yeah.
Just to glaze you for a moment, it's fucking perfectly executed.
Thank you.
Definitely. But my favorite interpretation of the characters, I would say, is Sonic Boom. I mean, you guys did an excellent performance because I love Sonic. I love the characterization of all the characters and everything. But I never thought that Sonic in the cast and Eggman can be funny. Like Sonic Boom, I had me dying and laughing in tears and everything. And I think it's the best characterization of the characters, especially with Sonic Boom Rise of the Lyric game. Even when you play in the game, I love the banter that the cast members had, especially at the very beginning when the cast was chasing after Eggman and everything, and just the banter going back and forth. It just leave me in tears, man. I just love Sonic Boom's characters.
I love that show. Miss you terribly.
You guys are funny.
Thank you.
You do
A lot of
this
laughs.
bit in the show where you ask how a bowl works, and like it is. I don't know if you remember this or not, because like I know that every episode blends together and whatnot. But at one point, as Eggman, you see something along the lines of like, oh, they're telling you how to start with a spoon, and you're asking all these technical questions, like using robotics to stir. It's just, it's such an
Bizarre.
in character for the show. It's brilliant. Sorry, continue.
It's delightfully bizarre, but yes, love that. A lot of laughs. Look forward. That was when we hit our stride. It was 4 hours every 2 weeks. Looked forward to those 4 hours tremendously.
Does anybody have any final questions before I ask the literal last one? And then we'll wrap the show. Also, we will be rating Alec Baldwin's finger. I'm setting the rate up now. So everybody in chat, there is 244 of you watching across platforms. Alec Baldwin's finger is a fantastic channel. We love him to death. His stream starts in 6 minutes. Once this show ends, it will immediately raid into his show. So stick around, give him the support. He's been a massive supporter of our community, of really all of the cabal. And yeah, we want to make sure that he gets his due. So make sure you stick around, support ABF. I just want to say that. All right. Anybody else? Feel free.
So maybe with luck for everyone, this will be not too detailed of a question and answer combination, but as somebody who has worked on projects for voice acting that have started with the English and stuff, because you've done a lot of anime work, stuff that obviously starts over in Japan, is there ever much in the way of somebody who really tries to break down, like, translating, not in the literal sense, but translating the tone and emotion, because things from one culture and one language to another a lot of times there's not a one-to-one, right? In terms of how people speak, how dialogue works, how jokes work, the type of humor that works with one country, one people, and doesn't work with another. What does that look like? Is there any sort of like transitional process that tries to make that as seamless and as close to the initial intent as possible?
When done correctly, there are usually 2 stages. There's a translation stage, which gives you a direct translation, possibly machine generated these days, but it's not in its final form. The artistic part comes from the adaptation, and it is an adaptation where someone is the adapter and they have the poetic license to remold it, to mush it back into something similar but equal, not the exact same words but conveying the same feeling, or depending on, like with 4 kids, completely different. the changing buns to other stuff and changing rice balls to donuts or whatever they did.
People talk shit on 4Kids, but I'd say I love them. They did a lot for getting folks into anime at a young age.
Sure.
I know you were
Yeah.
disparaging the mind. There are a lot of like anime purists that'll be like, "Oh, 4Kids." Like, no. Do you realize how many people wouldn't be watching nowadays if it weren't for their shitty dubs? I have a soft spot for them.
But still, even with that in mind, they were not taking things too seriously and too literally, and they would put in something completely out of context if it was for comedy. But putting those actions aside, a well adapted show will make sure that the dialogue flows. Just I did dub it the other day. There are always little micro adjustments we make during recording. That doesn't quite flip the flap. Hang on, I'll rewrite it. Not me being the director usually. I will contribute. They might take a suggestion, but the directors usually will get the final say of, the script is done, but now it needs to be really fixed for this moment. So if there's a lot of hands in there to make it perfect or near perfect.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that. I appreciate the insight.
Of course.
I'm just taking it all in. I'm like Mugalore right now. Mugalore just that boy gritted.
Chilling with Eggman.
Or at least the guy who sounds like him sometimes.
Anybody else? Any further questions? I've got one more, but I want to get everybody else the chance out to ask a question.
I think I'm good. I think I'm probably gonna get one right when we end the show. Watch,
When
but
we
it's
end,
okay.
so,
It's always the way. Dang, I should have said that.
I am a massive fan of show tunes and musicals. So when you said that, it lit up my little theater kid heart. Can you give me maybe just a rough estimate of your top maybe 5-ish favorite musicals?
Sure. I'm going to go with the one that I love to do because I've done it twice. How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. I have been Bud Frump twice. I hope I could still do that to this day. Phantom because of my brother-in-law. We are going to see Operation Mincemeat next week, a brand new import for Britain. It's hysterical. It's on our Showtune show, so that's where we heard it, and they were transferring to Broadway, and my wife said, I want to go see that. I said, me too. So we're going to see a preview.
This may be inappropriate to ask, but just when this is over, can you DM me that title so I remember? Because I will want to check it out. I guess I haven't heard of that one. I want to remember it.
I'll send you the cast album. You can look it up for more information.
Thank you.
Man of La Mancha, just old school classic. Been listening to that a lot. Listening to that as a child. It was the London cast recording was a full cast, basically an audio book with songs cut down a bit, but it was the whole show. So I had the whole show in my head, even though I had never even seen it. It was fantastic. Oliver, a classic, and going back for kids and movie musicals, Mary Poppins, Shitty Shitty Bang Bang.
Oh, Chi Chi Bang Bang. That's a deep cut. I don't even know if a lot of people know what that is anymore.
Sure. Well, there you go, kids. And Richard Rogers, I'm way more than 5. Richard Rogers' last musical, I Remember Mama. An acquired taste, but I like it.
I've not seen Mama. Did you ever see the? I know it's the last question, but did you ever see the film starring Natalie Wood, Gypsy?
Yes. Great show.
Not a lot of folks know it. I've never gotten a chance to see the live version. It's obviously a musical. It's a stage play first. I've only seen the film, but it's another one that I just highly recommend everybody check out. Gypsy is so good. My personal favorite being the Newsies. I don't know if you're a Newsies fan or not, but I love the Newsies.
Mm-hmm. Gypsy, one of my wife's dream roles. I would bet if she were to do
really,
yes, if she were to do Mama Rose, I would do Herbie.
Oh, that would be so great.
We met doing a show, so I'd love to do another show.
You know what? Since you brought up musicals, here's a good little question to end it off, right? So if they did a Sonic musical like on Broadway and they cast it and they asked you to be Eggman, would you do it?
Sure.
Have you in the
if they would have me, if it's depending on this, because yelling is bad enough and singing, it would be a matter of how much I could sustain the voice for 6 shows a week or 8 shows a week. But I would love to at least do it once.
Right, a one-off, just a one-off made by Sega. You know, a Sega one-off presents. You know, they'll have it recorded with all the angles and everything.
There were some musical moments in Sonic Boom, and I love to have the opportunity. Beautiful Dreamer. Thank you. By the way, I knew that song when that was in the script. I have that in my playlist.
That's awesome. I mean, they make musicals out of
Fantastic.
everything nowadays. Evil Dead got a musical. Spider-Man
Sure.
got a musical. Naruto's gotten a musical. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point we get a Sonic musical. That being said, guys, it is time to wrap the show. We are at that 2-hour mark. We're going to go on and let everybody plug what they do. We're going to start bottom left. Cine. We're going to be playing some more Sonic Frontiers tonight after some Pokemon Unite. But until then, tell the people who you are and what you do.
Hi, how are you cuties doing? So, guys, I said earlier I am on all platforms as Cinevere, but I realized I'm getting a little bit behind on my Rumble, so give me a little bit of patience on that. And I dropped a video yesterday, and I'll have one out on Wednesday, so keep an eye out, won't you? I hope you cuties have a great one, and thank you to Mike Pollock for dropping by and saying hello.
Thank you.
Andrew, I don't know how much you can say considering the NDA, but tell the folks what's going on with you, with Rippaverse, the whole nine. You have a stream coming up right after this on the Gauss channel where you guys review Smallville, so
Actually, no, not tonight. We don't have that.
Damn it, you made me look like an idiot in front of Mike Pollock.
You do that all on your own already. It's okay. Love you, brother. No, you guys, thank you so much for being here and supporting the stream. Leon's an awesome guy. Having such a wonderful, blessed opportunity to spend time with the voice of Eggman from Sonic the Hedgehog, Mike Pollock, has been an absolute joy. And as someone who's gotten the chance to talk to a couple of Sonic voice actors over the course of the last year, this was like, I feel like I'm going to try and slowly add the infinity gems to my gauntlet of all the Sonic voice actors that I could get my hands on. So that's been incredible and cool. But yes, I'm the creative manager and lead editor over the Rippaverse. We've got a lot going on, a lot of releases coming out this year. We're going to be releasing probably 12 plus new books this year, which is a tremendous undertaking, but it's a lot of work, and that's a great problem to have. And I'm thankful for everybody out there that supported what we do. Thank you for supporting fun geek stuff.
Yep.
Y'all are awesome.
You'll love to see it. Thank you so much, Andrew. LG, tell people who you are, what you do. You like you got something you about to show
I was
off.
about
Come
to.
on,
I was actually about to go take something to Eric. My kinfolk, because they say online that me and Eric Shalai like related, because black people look like the thing.
Anywho, he's your dad who abandoned. He went out for milk and menthols, and you never saw him again. But you buy his book. That way, it's like being close to him, right?
Right. According to people on the internet, right? Anyway, y'all can find me everywhere. 210 LG. That's 210 LG. See how I did that, Mike Pollock? I hope you. I hope that helps. See, there you go. But no, I do music, I do gaming, I do a couple of podcasts. I got the Empress Court podcast, which is a general podcast. I also do Strip Club Chronicles. For those who don't know, I DJ in the strip clubs, and so I kind of give my thoughts on what goes on within that.
Mike,
also
you'll
working
find
on the
yourself in
album.
Atlanta. LG will give you like premium access. He'll
premium access. Wow.
Ask your local cons to have me.
Right, I'll do that. But yeah, I'm also working on an album right now as we speak, and that I'll have more progress on that as soon as I can. But thank you for having me, Leon. Mike, good to see you, and nice meeting you, and keep up the good work, man.
Pleasure. Thanks so much.
Mugen Lord, my man, dropped a video today. It was great. You've been doing such good work, dude. I'm so proud of it. Not just your videos, but like your combo work. I'm really, really happy to see how far you're going, man. Tell the people who you are and what you do.
Thanks, appreciate it. And the funny part about all this, I forgot that you said Mike Pollock was going to be here. So it's funny that I did the Sonic team racing or the Sonic racing, impressions, and then I get on here and say, "Oh shit, I'm talking to actual Eggman. Oh, this is awesome." I forgot, but yes, I appreciate it, man. As I said before, the my comic and everything, waiting for all of the survey questions to be finished. So if you guys have backed the comic book and everything, make sure you go back to the Kickstarter, answer the survey to get, for your email address, your information and stuff like that. So when Kickstarter locks it all in, I'll be able to go out and print out the books and start preparing fulfillment and everything. But yes, on Wednesday on my YouTube channel, I'm giving my first impressions to the beta to Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves. I got my ass kicked in the game, but I'll share that with you guys. And then other than that, next week I'll release the Zeno Legacy video because I'm working on it right now. So after I get over here, I'm going to finish that video and it'll be ready for Monday. So I'm excited for it, but I had a good time tonight, and thanks for having me on.
Dude, I'm happy to do it anytime. I know you're a busy dude, and I hate monopolizing your time. But you and I have bonded over Sonic so many times. It's like I can't. Plus, you were also on here for the very first time I interviewed a voice actor. I interviewed Chuck Huber. I was like, we gotta get Mugen Lord back for round 2, and hopefully it will become a reoccurring thing where we get
definitely
talent on that is not afraid of free speech and is okay with speaking their mind, because it's something that unfortunately, from an outsider perspective, we've seen in the industry is a lot of folks, understandably so, because of job security, don't necessarily have the comfort level to say what they want to say. And it Mike, you, Chuck Huber, a few others have bucked that trend. And just from a fan perspective, it's something we love seeing. People who are unfiltered and actually want to connect with the audience in a genuine and authentic way. Authenticity is the actual currency of the internet. And so while you're here, as authentic as possible, tell the people what you've got going on, what you're allowed to say, things to that effect, and go for it.
I'm almost afraid to promote stuff in case anyone wants to go and ruin it. Look for me on X, formerly Twitter. It's a Mike. It's a Mike.com as my website. That actually has some upcoming convention appearances. Love to see you civilly, please. Thank you. And if you want me at your local con, ask your local con to have me. Love to see you. But I'm in some stuff. Kid shows. There's a new different version of the Jungle Book that I'm in that's on YouTube in a couple episodes. Yeah, some dubs are coming out on the way. There's the new Sonic game that's out, and possibly some other Sonic surprises I can't spoil.
Well, I'm going to put Mugen Lord on the spot here. Just, his comic is going to be getting an audiobook version. He's looking for voice actors. By the way, Mugen Lord, if you're looking for voice actors, I'm here as well. But
most definitely.
Just throwing out there that maybe if you get in contact with your boy Mike here, and maybe via some emails, drop him some money. You know how much Jews love that. Maybe he'll be in your comment. Who's to say?
Being paid for work, I know. What are the odds? Well, on the internet, Fiverr exists. It's more than 5. Yeah, indie productions have become a bit of a challenge, but let's talk.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Cool. Thanks.
And last but not least, you got me. First of all, I do apologize to everybody for watching for canceling last week. I literally had completely lost my voice. Too much streaming will lead to I'm sure Mike knows about taking care of your voice. I probably should have done better. Spent some more lemon juice, some more green tea. But we will be doing a makeup stream for the canceled stream from last week. Beyond that, thank you so much for all the love and support. You're watching the videos, showing up at the streams. There are 243 people watching right now across both platforms, both on X and here on YouTube. Thank you so much. Sending the super chats, you didn't need to. Great dialogue in the chat. There were some folks in the chat that did not agree and were not fans, but you know what, that is a-okay, because again, we do stand for free speech, even if it's speech that we don't agree with. And the fact that folks come here and they feel like they've got the comfort level and the freedom to say and espouse shit that even if we don't agree with, that means we're doing things right. So by all means, check out my channel, Words of Paradise, hit that subscribe button if you be so inclined, follow Mike's work, purchase some Sonic games. They're running a Sonic sale on Steam right now, as well as all my fine panelists here. I mean, they all do great shit, except Andrew. He fucking sucks. No, I'm joking. I love Andrew to death. Yeah, make sure to check out all my partners in crime. And until next time, it is all here in the Nerdosphere. And this has been Words of Paradise.